Hello and welcome to the Low Code Campfire. This is episode number 230 for February 6th, 2026. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plant and App, and today's main topic, 404, Where Art Thou? And I'm sure we'll get into many other things besides that. This is an event that we do most Fridays, get together and talk about Plant and App and low coding and the problems, challenges that you're facing. So glad you're here with us, or if you're watching in replay, glad you're here with us. Join us live sometime. This is open to all skill levels, beginner, expert, everything in between. We do record all of them, put them on YouTube at youtube.com/plantandapp, so you can subscribe there and know when we get them posted, usually later that same day. We'll do this agenda where we stop and say hello because we're a friendly group, and then we'll go around the campfire. We'll always start with first call, something you want to talk about, and then submitted topics. We do have at least one going on today. Some things that I want to talk about, but we'll get to those only if there's time. After an hour or so, we'll go into Afterglow, where we turn off the recording, raise a virtual adult beverage, and enjoy each other just for a few more minutes. So do jump in, engage with us. You can submit questions and topics in advance, support@plantandapp.com. If you do that, I'll do a little bit of research. That's what I did this time, a little bit of research, and then we'll post. We'll put them on the agenda and get them talked about. And with that, I will stop, take a breath, and say hello.
Hello, greetings.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. All right, and there's Matt. Matt submitted the topic in advance, so we'll get to his in just a minute. But let's start with first call. Who's up? Nobody came with an interesting problem. Oh, yeah, there you go.
I do have just a thank you for reminding me that there's so many powerful tokens. I had a situation where I needed to show somebody a file that was on the file system, and I didn't want to show the whole path. And so there's I forget what the token actually is, but there's a token for getting a file ID. And then just the link that you supply is just the file ID, as opposed to showing a full path into the system, which is great. And creating that was very easy. Yep, that's the one.
So your particular one, file get link, you can send it a file ID or a relative path to the file, and it will turn that into a link that you can publish. And it is, I don't know if I can happen to get one here, make it work. I have to know a file on the system here, which, let's say we can illustrate that. Go into our files section and we'll look for a temp file. Let's find an easy one here. So I've got this file, ticket 7666.txt that is in the temp folder. So if I were to go and provide that relative path, I would expect it to give us, it gives us a link click.aspx, and it has a file ticket. So we're not revealing anything about the structure of our site. And if you were to browse to that, for example, put the domain name in front of it and then provide that link, we'd get the that's not a very exciting file, but it would open the file even though it's a file ticket, not an absolute path. So that is a good one.
Exactly. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the current user, so they search for themselves in a list, and then they want to display some details about themselves, one of which is some PDFs that they have access to, that are for their for where they for the region where they live. And then that I don't have the actual name of the file, but I do the file name is built off of a field in their user record. So it's a calculation to build the file name, and it's always in a given folder. So what I do then is just do a create update token of building the actual path, and then a the file uh, get file link, get file ID, whatever it is, get link, the file get link with that built path, and then show them that. That way, nobody can say, "Oh, well, I can just go and just it seems kind of obvious. I can go and look at other um, or try other files."
Yes. And um, yeah, many other, I mean, I think that's a pretty common thing when you start giving a path and the URL is up there at the top of the page, and it's something, say in a horrible case, the file that got created was a social security number .txt or PDF or something like that.
Right.
And somebody thought, oh, okay, now I'm going to go, or let's say, I mean, it could be anything, but if there's a discernible pattern, they could start manipulating that and retrieve information that was not designed for them. So,
Exactly.
uh, yeah, a nice kind of
And then I
simplified.
just forgot all the capabilities that are there in the tokens, that they can do all kinds of things for you. And I just forgot that they were there. I went to look for an action, and I said, well, I don't see an action here that gets what I want. How do I go about doing it? And then you reminded me. So thank you for that.
So, um, before we wrap on the file get link, and you guys can enhance if I've got this at all wrong, but when you have I mean, one case is that you have a standard folder structure. That's what we've been talking about. So you want to not reveal your standard folder structure. And then you could have a secure folder. And with a secure folder, you can't you're prevented from being able to just use a direct file name, and a get link, a link click link is necessary. So if you have a file stored in a secure folder that you want to reveal, you can use this same get link and it will come out of it's the only way to get it out of the secure folder. Do I have that right? Pointing
I think
particular.
that's true.
Yeah. Okay.
The
So,
link that got created has the obfuscation there is the file ticket equal 3 plus the dash and some random string after it, that whole thing. Okay.
right.
At first, it looked like it was just 3. So it's like, that would, oh, I'll try for number 4.
Yes, yes. And probably, I don't know, it looks like the file ticket is static, right? I'm evaluating it more than once and getting the same answer back. So it's not like it's a new random number every time, but still it is obfuscated. So on the topic of tokens as a whole, that's a really good reminder that when when you get a empty plant and app system, the tokens, the only major, I mean, we have a window here that has a lot of things. The only thing that ships with it is there's going to be this one .core tokens at the top, and within that there are many, many. And it occurs to me maybe sometime that would be if we haven't done it, that would be a good thing to run through and pick out useful tokens and just kind of reorient with that. But there are many, many here that we use all the time, and probably power that you've forgotten about.
And I just have to toss in here, they still aren't alphabetized. And I've said that many times before.
Thank you, Patrick.
We've talked about it a few times on this call, that it would be really nice if that list was alphabetized, but it's not.
Well, we really, really want you to think about the things that are here. And, uh, you're absolutely right. I'm just joking back, but there are things that if you know what you're looking for, if you have a clue, you can search
Search, yeah.
and get to them pretty quickly. So that's at least a benefit. I would love to see the I mean, now in the world of wish list, I would love to see better and more advanced examples and documentation in line, but the clues are there. Yeah, and trying Matt is reminding me that there was a low code feature focus segment that I used to do and spend 5 minutes on a topic, just quickly showing off a feature, and so going token by token and doing a low code feature focus. I guarantee if one of you wants to help me undertake that, I would certainly publish your low code feature focuses. Yeah, I'll get into it. Maybe. All right. So good. Well, we always have time for thank yous, so thanks, Don. Any other first call? I'm going to dive into Matt's question.
I have what I hope is a quick one, because
Yes.
I was on a 128 site. I thought somewhere in all the revisions there was a way to group a grid with like a header, a repeatable. So I have a customer account name, and transactions under it multiple times in a grid. But I was reading through the documentation and didn't see it. So it may be a technique of combining controls or something then, as opposed to.
So if I understand the question, having a using a grid to show multiple levels of content, like
Yes.
a customer that has invoices, that has payments, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I only need one level. It's a customer level, and then these are actions that need to be taken for this customer.
And so out of the box, the listing product doesn't do sub levels, doesn't represent them on the listing. There are certainly techniques to get there, and probably one of the easiest is listings within listings. So if you have a customer level and you want to show, what'd you say, actions?
Yes, actions.
So you could have an actions button that opens a custom data view that includes another listing. And so and then now let's see if I can even find an example of this. You should be able to see it on your systems. There is no, I can find an example of someone on our systems. Give me a moment.
Yeah, because I was reading through and trying the hierarchical view, and I'm going, I don't think that's where I want to go.
No, I mean and I'll show a good use case for that too. This is the system that we use to publish the cumulative hotfixes that you see, but you can see it's a listing. So for cumulative hotfixes for February 3rd, we have a button that where we can expand the packages that are contained inside that hotfix. When we do that, it opens a separate listing, which we happen to choose to leave the header and filtering and all that turned on. So this is now a second level of content that's displayed. And
that would work for the application I need.
Mm-hmm. And pretty sure, let's see, this is cumulative hotfixes. I don't think I'm revealing state secrets to drill into this and take a look. The expand packages button, which has that down arrow on it, is just using a custom detail view action. And the action is to, I'm going to click in here and look at the so this is using our standard capability to embed a listing. And so it's a copy paste. You paste the content. I'll show you where this comes from. We have product changes is a module on the page. No, that's the page we're on. So another module that we get the code from. And that comes from I can't find it to pick it out of this list, so I'm going to just go back to the one that I was on and show you where to look for it. On the settings page, there is the ability to embed. So in the advanced UI settings, you can click embed, and then it will give you the code that you need to do that. I was seeing that they did it as an iframe versus this this exact code here, so might need a little tweak in that. I'm not sure. And we could demonstrate, but so you can easily get listing within listing, or even form within listing using that custom action.
Okay, I will go work with that. Yeah, I just didn't want to keep going down the road of hierarchical if that was the wrong approach, and it sounds like it is.
Right. So as a quick show off of what you get out of the hierarchical listing, if you look at our files section, one of our wonderful ex-employees, his name was Patrick, designed this. So the hierarchical view will let you drill down and see so in this case, we're doing a data source that represents folders. And then as you click on a folder, as you click on a leaf of this hierarchy view, you can influence something else so in this case, it's a separate listing. So it's possible to represent things in this tree view and then use the output of it to trigger something else to happen.
Okay.
Patrick, do you have any comments on implementing something like this?
Nothing specific. The other place that's used is in by the way, is in SQL Console to show the database. I missed part of what you said because evidently my internet cut out for a second, but I saw that you were looking at the files page.
We also have a demonstration of this in a, oh no, this is in the wrong one. Hierarchy, here it is.
Yep.
That you can get behind it and see how this was a drill down to show that you have a company and a region and a specific city. And so lots of this is a nice three level view, and so seeing how you put it together and all is available to you on Campfire.
You can do the buttons on each row, but also the clicking. You can click the plus to expand, but you can have a separate action that happens if you click the name itself. That's another feature it has. Yep.
So in our case, we're running a little bit of JavaScript that tells the code of what you're clicking.
Yeah, that's an important clarification. I use the word action, but it's actually JavaScript. It's not a plant and app action that runs, but
and then you can put a button on it as well. So in this case, we're getting the data for FF Northeast and displaying it in a form. So it's useful, but not tab within tab or listing within listing.
I think the power of what you can do with those buttons in the hierarchical view is really well displayed with in the SQL console, because there's those buttons that are in the hierarchy there have a lot of features in them, hidden in them.
Yeah, if you don't know about them, certainly worth taking a look. So this lets you browse all the files in your the tables that we create for you when you create an entity are in the app namespace. And so, for example, we have book. If you want to create a select query based on book, you can use that action and it builds it for you and then ready to run.
I'd say that unless this has changed, Dale, in the past few months, but the one limitation that the hierarchy view has is that you can't preload it being opened to a specific child. So when it loads by default as it just shows the top level collapsed. You can't have it open to a specific child level when it loads. So in other words, like in the file manager, you'll notice you might navigate to some pages, but if you try to load the same URL, it's just going to the hierarchy view will load collapsed. It won't load expanded to the folder that you've selected.
So yes, there hasn't been any changes in that area that I'm aware of. But while I'm sitting here looking at at this, I'm reminded there is a change that is happening to the SQL console that is worth knowing about. We are changing the interactive select to limit when you run a query, limit the output to 100 rows. And this is simply because doing what I just did, browsing and doing a select and happening on a table that has 1,000,000 rows and hitting run query will just crash your server. Well, it'll be a big drain on your server and it's just an accidental thing. So we limit it to 100 rows. If you really want the data, you can use one of the export buttons and it will really run. But interactively, typically the SQL console is used to explore your data, what's in here, what can I do with it, and less about needing all thousands of rows. So it was a happy balance and keeps us from
running. Yeah, that's a good thing, because I'm always really careful about if I'm querying a table that I know has, because we do have tables that have hundreds of thousands of records. I always add a top. Yeah. But yeah, putting a safeguard in there is good too.
I do the same thing. Yep. I put a top 110, whatever it is.
Yep. And yeah. So that is coming. I don't know if it's in this one. Let's see. I'll find out here quickly.
I'm guessing that's because you've had a few people crash some servers doing that,
huh? Yeah, and we really don't want to crash our production servers. So I'm going to say top 200 on this one and see it's displaying this. This already has the fix. It is only displaying 100 out of the 200 that I asked for. And doesn't matter how many I asked for, it's only going to give me those. If I clicked the CSV button, I would expect to get all 200 rows. as we wait patiently for Excel to fire up on my less than beefy machine. Let's see if that's true. Yep, we get all 200 rows, so that's good. Cool, so that's just a random note. All right. We're back to first call. All right, it's Matt's turn. Matt was trying to color between the lines. Do you want to explain, Matt, or would you like me to try to?
Well, I think you absolutely got it. But basically, I've got something I've got to build pretty quickly. And I'm trying to leverage as much of the built-in capabilities as available, specifically drop-downs that are pre-filtered, parent-child-grandchild relationship, and try to do that without diving into as little as I need to, additional SQL selects to do drop-downs. So I got kind of stuck conceptually. And so here we are.
Great. So I built a mock-up of this, and we can play with it, but let's take a look, I guess, first at the data. Called a taskmaster. That seemed fun to me. So I made, so this is out of the box list of entities kind of functionality of Plant an App. So very easy to define. And so what we ended up with is for each of different kinds of activities that you might do, like you might email somebody or call somebody or do an in-person visit, there are subtasks that relate to that. So if we were to look at the things that you could do by email, you can do an introduction or a follow-up or proposal or some support work for them. If I go back to the tasks and look at, in my case, this is not necessarily Matt's case, but I defined it that an in-person visit, that the only thing that you can do is support. The purpose of going out and doing an in-person visit is we do support, but we never do an introduction by an in-person visit. So that was kind of my well, and let's look separately. The call type is you can do an intro or a follow-up or support by phone. So this is kind of the relationship between tasks and subtasks. Not every subtask that you want to accomplish can be done by a task. So first of all, let me check with you, Matt. Are we anywhere close on your?
Yeah, this is it. That's definitely the idea.
Okay. And then so this one piece of the puzzle is defining the relationship between a task and a subtask. And I did that by way of list of, which lets us define the data and relationship in an out-of-the-box way. In your scenario, is there another task that we could work through here real quickly? We have email, call, in person. Let's write a letter. Okay. I just want to show that with write a letter, we start out with 0 subtasks. When we drill into that, now we're saying what kind of subtasks can be done with write a letter. And out of the box, we get 2 choices. We can add existing, and existing will show you all the different subtasks that are defined. And so let's say that we can do a follow-up by writing a letter.
So question for you then. From
Yes.
add existing, that's selecting from all of the available subtasks.
Correct. So this is at the definition level where we're
Yep.
saying what are the possible relationships between A and B. So we're not creating a new follow-up. We're using the existing follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
To differentiate, there's the add button, which says maybe send a check can only be done by a letter. And I'm
making it up. Yep.
Yeah, making it up. But if you're going to write a letter, you can send a check. And so now we have this relationship. And so as we go back and look at the tasks, you can't email a check. You can't call a check.
Right.
If we did an in-person visit, we can now go in and say, yeah, we could bring a check. So we can, now it exists. We can add existing and we can send a check as part of an in-person visit. And so now we're reusing the same things. And so the decision point is, do I already have one of these or do I need a new one?
Mm-hmm.
So that's at the definitional level, we have this, this relationship. And just, I suppose, so we don't go too far afield, this definition was done on entities. I created task and subtask. So I'm going to go at the lower level first. Task just has a name and a description, and that's it. No particular specialness. And then in task, when we define a task, it has a name, a description, and then subtasks as a list of subtasks. So when you add any kind of property, you get the ability to add primitives, but there's also entities and list of entities. So list of subtasks gives all that functionality that I was just pointing out, the ability to have subtasks and they show up as with a count of number that are assigned to them, and you can add new and add existing. All that's out of the box functionality. So that's part one. And then part two is consuming this list. And so the way that I did that is, where's this task master? I created another entity called task list items, and I did a very small amount of SQL that was necessary to get this to work. And so that was kind of your definition. How can I do this with the least amount of staying within the plant and app mindset? And so anyway, where we get to is that as we're adding a task list item now, we have a drop down that says, what are we going to do? And notice my in-person visit is, write a letter is added to this list automatically. And when I look at the subtasks, I only see the subtasks that are related to writing a letter. I can only pick from those. If I do a call, I have a different list. And if I do an email, I have yet another list. And what did we say? An in-person visit, you can do a check. Yes.
Yep.
And write a letter, you can do a check. So I think this corresponds to the way you want to use those, right?
Correct. Yep.
So to get to that point, again, looking at the low-code asset that was done by App for you. I should have used a namespace so it'd be easy to find all these, but they're all named tasks. So here it is. The task list item is defined as, I have a name, a description, a task, and a subtask. So,
and those are both lists.
No, these were added as, I can't edit it, so I'm going to add one and show it. These are added as entities. You're going to just pick one off the list. So I picked task for task and subtask for subtask. It's going to, behind the scenes, it stores just the ID of the task and the subtask that are related to the thing you're trying to do.
Okay.
So when I built and saved all that, we ended up with a form that was very, very close to what you needed. It built a task as a drop-down with autocomplete, and I didn't change this at all. It's getting its source from the entity records related to task. And so all of your tasks are showing up automatically, and the ID of which is going to be stored here in our task ID.
Mm-hmm.
It also created a subtask. It was named this thing, and it was built with that same entity setting, and it was pointing to the subtask table. And so this is the only change that I made. I changed it to a SQL query, and I will show you how I got this SQL query. At the end of what you're going to do, you want to have a value that the user sees, which is, excuse me, a value that the ID of the thing, and the text is what the user sees.
Yep.
So the text is the name of the subtask, and the value is the idea of the subtask. That's what our subtask ID was expecting, and our logic is expecting when it automatically writes back to this task list item entity. So we had to get that by doing a little bit of joining, and this might be useful to now just kind of explore this query in the SQL Query Manager here a little bit. So SQL Console, and actually I'm going to do of this, and we'll start by looking at tasks. So this is the exploration I was talking about a minute ago. We're doing a select on task. Let's see what we have. So email is ID 1 and call is ID 2. Let's do write a letter. That's ID 4. So this is showing that when your ID is 4, this is giving us the result we want. I'm not showing you how I got there. I'm showing you the final product, that we get a text of the thing we want and the ID of the thing we want. If we did it by number 1 was email, then it gives us other values and texts. But it's so this is proving the success. Well, how did I get here? If you look at, maybe I'll continue to explore here. If you look at the things that get created for you when you do a list of, we did, we created subtask and task. There's a join table that gets created for you automatically called task, subtask, subtasks. And I'm not sure that I love the naming, but this is what we create for you. And so I'm going to just do a list of these, and you'll see what you get. It's a join between task ID and subtask ID. So task ID 1, which is email, is joined to 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 is joined to 1 and 2 in the other table, and 4 in the other table. Let's keep going here. The last one we added was this rate letter is number 4, and it's joined to 2 and 5. So you don't you have to know that this join table exists and that it only has two elements where it's going from one table to the other, and it's the thing that defines this relationship that is expressed here.
Yep.
So knowing that, you can then, let me see if I can find it. This is now the join. You go join from the task, subtask, task, subtask, subtasks, T, and joined through that to the subtask table. And now I can, if the left side of this is a 1, I want to join through to 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's what's happening here. And yeah, so that's the little bit of SQL that you need to know. So before I move on, this is the hardest part. Is there questions about how I got here or how you can get there? Okay.
No, I understand that and kind of understood that it existed and that was the way it was created. My goal, my goal basically was to understand, am I missing something in that you can do, instead of this SQL, you can arrange the relationships more at the entity level so that it would be automatic to do this instead of using a select statement such as you have. But to that end, you have definitely answered the question, no doubt.
Right. So as far as I know, and I'd love to be corrected, as far as I know, there is no way to express this within the product other than diving into some SQL. But the most of the assets and everything and the things that you need, except this one SQL statement, are all there, and there's just minor tinkering necessary to make it work. So as compared to creating your own table and your own way to relate them, using the list of saves you that. Creating this task list where the tasks are in Dropdowns, it's all created for you. So then the tinkering necessary was that you needed the SQL so that you can get from whatever they pick as a task to the subtasks that are related to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to, so we converted it to SQL. We added the SQL. We're using the R task ID down here as the, so when they make a change to this R task ID, when they change this dropdown, we have linked this control to the task ID so that as that task ID changes, this query runs again, and it does it and uses that task ID to find the subtasks that are related to the task. So essentially, the coding changes are necessary is knowing how to convert this to a SQL query, linking it to the task ID, and using the task ID. And so the result that you get is that as you're picking a task, you get the related subtasks.
Yeah, and you've hit the nail on the head in that what I was looking to do, coloring within the line, so to speak, was to see if the task-subtask relationship that you created SQL for was something I was simply misunderstanding. in low code and needed special intervention, meaning a SQL query. But you've answered the question, so yeah, you need the query.
So ideally, our where is this? Not SQL query, but this was an entities type, entity records. Holy moly, did I do this the very hard way? No,
Well,
you can't bring the join the join table in. That's the problem.
yeah, what I was looking to do, and it wasn't happy with me, was I did exactly where you are right now and said where clause equals our task ID, whatever the right field was there, and that just was not happy with me.
Right, because without the join table, you don't know what things belong to the task.
Correct.
So now you get all of the subtasks, and there's no way to filter them out. So as a potential feature enhancement for the product, this is not going to help you at all. I'm just brainstorming.
Yep.
If we had in the entity records, or perhaps a different data source that was related entity list, that you could specify an entity and a list of entity and be able to have it encapsulate that logic so that you didn't have to do that work.
Yep.
I think it could be defined but now there is a workflow data source too, so potentially we could build a workflow that would be interesting. It might be possible for somebody enterprising to develop a workflow that returns exactly this and kind of encapsulates it. So, but best case would be that we defined a different data source that would do this for you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and thank you.
So in all that, did I happen to spark anything with anyone else that would be worth talking about?
I was just thinking about that. I was thinking that it would be cool if not even a different data source, but if this data source you have right in front of you allowed you, like if you could choose, yeah, if it knew that it was a child and you could tell it to limit it by parent. So
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
that was where I was
Yeah.
heading. That was the concept I was heading toward, and yeah, so couldn't get there, but yeah, it would be good. Mark has a comment.
I'd like to add a few columns to that automatic join table. I absolutely agree. And if, for example, the join table included the name of the item that it was joined to, you could consume it in a single table and not have to get into the join logic. But that's a different story.
One of the things that I've done several times is add an order column to the join table so that I can order things based on the parent as opposed to just having obviously I can add an order column to an entity, but adding it to the join table allows me to say if it's this parent to put them in this order. And I've done that. I've just gone into SQL and added the column, and that
we
works.
tolerate that.
Yeah, we talked about that before. Yeah, I mean, it works okay. It's not supported by Plantain App. I don't want to give that any, but it works out okay so far. You can go, then you can still go and edit your entities and everything, and that extra column isn't impacted in any way.
Great, thanks, Tone. Yeah, I said yes. We have talked about it. The word I used was tolerate. Plantain App tolerates that. It doesn't, as far as we know, it doesn't choke on that at all to have columns that it doesn't know about. But it's definitely not a included intentional feature.
And on that topic, that created entity does not show up in the list of entities.
No, it just shows up in the it shows up in SQL Console. You can find it by name, but it does not. It's not an entity that you can manipulate.
Yep. Okay.
And you'll see it's actually quite. We did some. Well, here it is. Here we selected out of it, and you'll see it doesn't follow a lot of the. It's not an entity. It's really intended as a join table. It doesn't have any extra information like who created it and who deleted it, and or excuse me, created or updated it, or the date and time that any of that happened. So it's intended to be very very light and something completely. It's not an entity.
Mm-hmm.
All righty.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You've helped clarify.
Sorry, the answer at the end of the day, I think what you took away from it is nope, it's not easy.
That's true. Well, it's not terribly difficult, but I just wanted to avoid SQL because I've got so many of these to do. I simply wanted to do it the best, the easiest way possible.
So that's an interesting thing that you have a lot of them to do. You think you'll see that in a lot of different places in your app?
Potentially. I mean, that's my anticipation, although I'll know better once I really get into it.
Well, so that I'm looking for that I mentioned that it could be done as part of a workflow. It would not be that difficult to be able to say name of the entity, name of the sub-entity, and have a workflow that returns exactly what you need. And if you're going to do it more than once, I think it would be worth defining that.
I think that data source that you were looking at, isn't that data source a list of workflows? I don't know if it allows you to use a workflow as a data source. I might be wrong about that, but
yeah, you just called me out. I think you're right. It is a name of workflows. So now it's even more roundabout. You can do it. You can do it as a list. What's the default items? You can do it as an item list, and you could define a workflow token. So now it even gets more roundabout.
That's an idea there. Yeah.
You could also do it as a server request. So if you defined an API that returned the things that you need, which is equally roundabout. So I think I would probably, for me, it would be very easy to do this as a, well, either way would work, but I would probably do it as a token. And the neat part about, well, both of these, but tokens specifically, tokens can be cached. So you get some performance improvement on that as well. I'm almost, I'm so, it's an interesting problem. I'm very inclined to take it on as a challenge. We'll see. Maybe by next week I'll have it, man. Glad you're paying attention, Patrick. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. Let me do news. I had a discovery this week, and turns out to be an issue that affects, I thought it was just maybe a 128 issue, but it really affects other things as well. And so the issue is in Plant and App, in DNN, you can define a 404 page. So if a URL that somebody goes to isn't recognized, it goes to the 404 page. Pretty standard stuff. But there are some elements that you can put on a 404 page, in particular, or any page, particularly coming from the theme, that triggers other DNN logic. So think about a 404 page that has a theme that has the language selector up at the top of it. The language selector, it's put there by a construct DNN colon language, but the problem is it ends up running tokens, both the DNN tokens and the Plant and App tokens, and without a context. So on a bad page, the thing will blow up. Well, if it blows up, it creates a circular loop. And let's see if I can.
Oh my gosh.
All this talking. You got
Dale,
one?
I think that's the problem. I think that you've nailed it. What the ticket that I opened up a couple months ago, and I just let it close because it's
filling your log?
The making our log go like outrageous lines. Yeah, I think this is it.
It probably is. I was
Yeah.
attacking it from the same perspective. I have a server that had lots of logs in the error. It turns out that if you're running a public website and don't have any protections, that you get a lot of hits from bots that are trying to see what you have. And when those things end up redirecting to a 404 that has this symptom, this thing, you end up throwing a you end up throwing an error in the log. If it is truly a browser, it redirects to 301, 302, 307 in a nice circle, and you end up getting another error into the log until the browser gives up. So as a browser, you might get 20 errors in your log, but even as just a bot, if you have a bot going to thousands of pages, each one of those throws an error and your logs fill up. And your CPU gets chewed up with, and your memory gets chewed up with handling errors instead of just quickly coming to a 404 decision. So easy solution to all this is to pick a plain theme page that doesn't trigger token logic. So that can be in DNN 10, there's a theme called Aperture. You can do that. I think you could, unfortunately, if you're using Plant and App's page builder theme, every one of those potentially will trigger tokens. So you either have to create your own, today's workaround, you either have to create your own simplistic page that doesn't trigger tokens theme container that doesn't trigger that, or use some other theme that has a container that doesn't trigger it. And
so in that case, would that Aperture do it?
Aperture doesn't. Yeah, in my experience, and let's see if I can find this. I'm sorry, I've been talking about this instead of doing it, which I usually do, but And I know we're hitting our hour, but this is, I think, worth solving. Especially since it's impacting you guys. So the symptom that you're going to see is if you do a bad page, like something that doesn't exist, you should get a 404. And if you have it set up badly, you won't get a 404. I'm sorry, and it may be that way by default. So let's follow the pieces. Within site settings, you have site behavior and you define your 404 page. In my case, it's called 404 page. You look at your pages and it's called, we have 404 page here. In the advanced appearance, this is set, in my case, to Exilion, or however you pronounce that word. If I flip it to Page Builder default and save, and now try to go to my bad page, might need to, and browser cache and browser cache plays into this. So I'm going to clear my cache and restart. Maybe that'll be enough to make this happen. But hopefully I can make it blow up. And it's just as simple as picking a theme that doesn't do that. And Aperture does not. Yeah, of course, today I can't make it happen, right?
Of course.
.301s are
Try a
heavily
different tab.
cached. Pardon?
Try a different browser tab.
Oh, okay. We'll do that too.
Although, is it happening now? Because your page is not resolving.
Well, I did a hard reset on the site, so.
Oh, okay.
But even if I cannot demonstrate the problem today, I will tell you the solution is just to go, come on, how bad could this? And this is part of the problem too, that you get a lot of these bots going on, and you look at the CPU on your site, and it's and the memory associated with the site, and it's far more than it should be. Yeah, it looks like it's going to give me the page. So I can't make it happen here at the moment. But again, the solution is just going and changing that.
Well, this is good because I've seen a ton of this type of error in my logs and scratch my head trying to figure out what's going on. So this is very helpful.
I think you'll find your logs automatically go to nothing because 404s don't get logged as errors. So your IIS logs will continue to have the attempts where people tried to go to those pages, but the response will be instantaneous, and it doesn't throw an error and go through all the effort that it takes to throw an error.
I apologize if you showed this already, but what does the error look like that you were getting?
I did not show it. But I can show it. Let's find it here.
In a semi-related note, we were testing a Cloudflare DNS, and Cloudflare sent me a note. Congratulations, you've reached 10,000 hits on your site. And it's like, no, we haven't done anything yet.
Instead of saying sorry, we haven't protected you well. if I can. I'm sorry, I don't have it, and maybe better for Afterglow, but
Yeah, sure.
yeah, I'm almost certain there's no reason not to fix this and make the 404 happen instantaneously, and I'll bet within a day you're going to know that your logs have dropped off substantially. Let's see the other. I'll hang around for Afterglow and we'll do that. I'll look and find the error. But so yeah, there's more. We are. I will just mention. I will be out next week. I believe that we're going to continue to have low-code Campfire. You'll get a last-minute notification, but as far as I know, we'll be having it hosted by Mr. Roswell and Stan. And if regardless, I will talk to you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for joining, and we will see you then. All right, bye.